Good morning. I am calling to order the March 13th meeting of the Board of Directors of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Government. Mr. Gunning, can we establish a quorum, please?
Okay, yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We need 7 warm bodies to have a quorum, and I see at least 7 in the room. Would suggest maybe we go around and do self-introductions in the room first, and then Jared can help us online.
Okay, we'll just start with you.
Andy Gunning, PPACG.
Mitch LaKine, Mayor of Monument.
John Graham, Mayor, City of Manitou Spring.
Roland Gardine, Mayor Pro Tem Callahan.
Todd Dixon, Mayor, Green Mountain Falls.
Director, City of Cripple Creek.
Kelly Case, Mayor Pro Tem Woodland Park.
Ferguson with CDOT.
Jeff Bond, representing Space Base Delta One, Peterson, Schriever, Cheyenne Mountain.
Cheryl Richards, Office Manager of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments.
Dave Donaldson, Colorado Springs City Council.
And online? Looks like we have Commissioner Holly Williams.
Holly Williams, El Paso County Commissioner.
And we have Councilmember Deidre Duncan, alternate for Fountain. Good morning.
Good morning to everyone.
Okay, and that looks like that's it. And then I am Sharon Thompson. I am the chair and I'm the mayor of Fountain. Our first item on our agenda is the agenda approval. Can I get a motion for that, please?
Also move, Mayor Dixon.
Can we have a motion and a second? Any deliberation on the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We have item 3, introductions and public comments and presentations. Item A is comments by City of Colorado Springs Mayor Yemi Mobilati. He will be here around 9:30, so we'll just go past that and on to the next thing. Item B, recognition of William Mast, who's been here. Has it been 5 years already? Seems like I say that every time one of these comes up.
Thank you. I didn't know. Sorry. Thank you, everybody. John Leosados, the transportation director, is going to say a little something about how grateful we are for William.
Madam Chair, members of the board, do you want me to stretch this out so Mayor Yemi gets here? No, sure. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to take this opportunity to recognize William Mast. William Will Mast, is that how it goes? For his 5 years of service here. You know, when Andy first started here 6 years ago, and I think I was his first hire, the idea was we want a high-performing organization. How do we get that high-performing organization? We make sure that we make the right hires. Will Mast was the right hire. He has elevated our modeling as well as just the whole way we do business as far as operational procedures and everything else. We can often find Will actually setting up the cables and putting together furniture or whatever it takes to get the job done. And he's helped us recruit new employees, and so we really have just a terrific transportation staff, and all of that is because of Will. So I know it's been 5 years, and hopefully we'll get another good 5 or 10 out of you before you go chasing down the big bucks. So with that, Will, thanks for being here. Wait, I got.
Do you need to do that too? Okay.
Can we do this, right?
Sure.
It's like I've been doing this a while.
Thank you very much and congratulations. That takes us on to item C, public comments. Public comments can be made before or during the meeting. Public comments during the meeting is limited to 3 minutes and can be done at the meeting location or remotely by using the posted Microsoft Teams links. Individuals are encouraged to notify the meeting organizer at PPACG before the start of the meeting with the agenda item they'd like to comment on. Public comments can be submitted before the meeting via email for distribution to the committee members. Do we have anyone in the audience for public comment? Do you have anyone online for public comment?
Madam Chair, I'll ask anyone who's online to please use the raise hand function in Microsoft Teams. Let us know they'd like to provide public comment. I will just say we did receive one submitted public comment that we did distribute to the board last night. And I see no hands raised from those in the Microsoft Teams room.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to close public comment then. I would like to state we've been joined by Councilmember Lynette Crowe-Iverson and Commissioner Vanderwerth. And so I'm not so lonely up here in this end of the room, huh? I
And Madam
know.
Chair, I will also add Commissioner Elsner has also joined us online.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay. Alrighty, that takes us to item D, military installation reports. Mr. Bond, since you're in the room, you always get first.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning to the Board of Directors. A few things to brief from Peterson, Schriever, and Cheyenne Mountain. Space Base Delta One hosted the Police Collaborative on March 7th. The Colorado Springs Police, El Paso County Sheriff, military police, and 17 other agencies gathered to collaborate on monthly law enforcement issues, intelligence, and build on the strong relationships and clear communication to ensure the safety of our people in the Pikes Peak region. And this is a monthly meeting. Peterson hosts it on a quarterly basis. Space Base Delta One also hosted the State of the Bases address on March 8th at Peterson Space Force Base. I wanted to thank those PPACG members who took the time out of your busy schedules to attend that event. I hope you got as much out of it as we did with the community collaboration. Colonel Hansen greatly appreciated all the civic leaders who attended, and he got an opportunity to share information concerning the installation's 1.7 million square foot facilities deficit, our need for infrastructure resiliency at our area installations, and some of the challenges with childcare availability for our service members and civil service employees. He also touched on the need for affordable housing, especially for our lower wage earning families. This will be Colonel Hansen's final State of the Bases address as he transitions in July. Finally, Peterson Space Force Base's North Gate will undergo a guard facility replacement and security improvements starting on April 16th. This basically means that traffic flow in and out of Peterson will be challenging in the mornings and the afternoons during the commuting periods. The renovations are slated to last 6 months pending any weather issues. And on a final weather-related issue, please ensure you have your crisis bags packed in your vehicles pending tomorrow's snowstorm. Thank you. Have a good day.
What month did you say that What month did you say the Northgate construction was beginning?
April 16th will be the start date, and the middle of October's the projected completion date.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other military members online?
I don't recognize any names in the Teams environment as military members. If there are names I don't recognize, please use the raise hand function to let us know. And if I see any that come up, Madam Chair, I'll let you know.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, that takes us on to item 4, the consent agenda. These items will be acted upon as a whole unless they are called up for discussion by a board member or a citizen wishing to address the board. We have consent items A and B. What would the board like to do with the consent agenda item?
Madam Chair, if I could, before we go on to the consent items, Jared mentioned that we had received a citizen comment last night, or he had sent it to us. I didn't get a chance to see that. Jared, could you just, with your approval, could he just give us a summary of what that was? Who sent it?
So that public comment was not directly related to an agenda item we have today. It was, I say not directly related, however, it was connected to one. The difference is that the public comment that we received was for a different funding source than what the agenda item for today is on. The public comment that we received is going to be something that is going to be coming to the board later on. It's going through the committee process right now through the Regional Advisory Council. But that is not something that the board will be acting on today for that particular comment, if that makes sense.
Okay. So,
Madam Chair, it came from Jason Dubueno at Silver Key with questions about the current funding allocation process we're going through with the AAA funds that'll come to the board. And May, I believe. Is that correct for approval? Yes.
Okay, I appreciate
that's
that,
correct.
that brief summary. Thanks.
No problem. Yeah, so,
And I move
we,
consent of the,
okay, well, I was gonna say,
approval of consent.
we do have a 5310 on the agenda item. It's just not that particular item. So you move for approval. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the consent items. Is there any further deliberation? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consent passes. That takes us on to action item 5. Action item A, FY 25-29 tip for adoption with public comments and hearing. Jessica Betchel. Want to let the board know we are going to be taking a little bit more formalized procedure with our TIPA movements. Since they are public hearings, will just be a little bit more obvious, kind of gaveling in and gaveling out like we do in most of our council meetings for a action item. And so we're going to go ahead and do the staff presentation. Then I'm going to ask for a motion to open the public hearing, second it, and then we'll open the public hearing and go from there. So go ahead, Jessica.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair and
Mhm.
esteemed members of the board. So the TIP is the 4-year program of planned and fiscally constrained transportation projects. Each MPO or metropolitan planning organization is federally required to develop a TIP. The TIP numbers roll into the STIP, which is the Statewide Transportation Improvement Program. A new TIP is adopted every 2 years. All transportation projects in an MPO's metropolitan planning area that seek federal transportation funding must be listed in the TIP and align with the long-range transportation plan. Funds are allocated to our region and MPO for review and distribution among eligible recipients, including municipalities, transit providers, and others. $7.25 million in new future year funding has been allocated and recommended for your approval and adoption within this new TIP document. The TIP has gone through a thorough review process for several months to ensure all criteria and federal obligations are met. The public comments received have been included in the appendices of the document. Projects are reviewed at the jurisdictional level by their constituents before they're brought into this process. So they've been vetted already before they get to us. And if there's no further questions on the TIP document that you've reviewed, then this is where we would ask for the public hearing to be open.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from any of the board members in the room or online? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask for a motion to open the public hearing for testimony.
I
I move that we open the meeting for public testimony. John Graham.
second, Dave Donaldson.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of opening the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, I am opening a public hearing on TIP amendment. Where's the number? I lost the
FY
number.
25-29.
Thank you. Okay. All righty. And is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this TIP amendment, either online, please raise your hand. Anyone in the audience? Okay, I don't see anyone in the audience rushing the platform, and I don't see any hands online. Is that correct? Okay,
Madam Chair, I might suggest too, I don't know if you mentioned, Jess, we did get 2 comments that are in the packet.
Yes. Yep.
That are part of the record as well. So I don't know if you want to just mention anything about those or.
Yeah, nothing too contentious or anything like that. Just suggestions, and we add it into the document itself. And so those were provided to you in the packet as well.
okay. Mayor Dixon, your light is on?
Sorry, I'm distracted.
Oh, okay. No, I thought maybe you had a question real quick before we
No,
close the public
no.
hearing. Okay.
Distracted.
So if I might, sorry, I know you want to gavel that out right now. So you did say there was a couple of suggestions and you modified the document based on
We
those
include
suggestions?
them in the appendices and then if they are something of relevance that actually affect the TIP or numbers or things like that, we would include it or. bring it
Okay,
back.
so
But
there-
they were nothing that.
Their
would-
comments are included in the appendices, but there was no word changes as a result of those inputs.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm just waiting, making sure. I have to hold it because sometimes I have been known to forget to close public hearings if I put the gavel down. So it's just a habit I developed. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. And oh, I'm sorry, Andy, you wanted a motion to close the public hearing on your, I already did
I
it.
think we're fine.
Okay,
I
we're
think
fine.
we
I already
closed it,
did
we're
it.
good.
Okay, it's just slightly different than how we do it. So, okay, so do we have a motion to adopt the FY 2025-29 tip?
So I'll make a moved, motion. Commissioner Williams.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes, and I want to let everybody know we've been joined by Councilwoman Yolanda Avila. So thank you for coming today. All righty, and that takes us on to item 5B, AAA and FTA 5310 funding recommendations released for 30-day public comment period. Mr. Barker.
Jody's
See him?
online. He's going to kick it off.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Okay.
Yes,
Welcome.
good morning.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is Jody Barker, your Area Agency on Aging Director. I'm talking to you today from the Aging and Policy Briefing in Washington, D.C. So really exciting to know what is going on at our federal level around our funding opportunities. And so just wanted to kick off item 5B. In October, we advertised a notice of funding availability for all three of our funding sources that lead to our transportation programs. Those are the Area Agency on Aging funding we receive from the state and our federal funding, but it also includes the Federal Transit Administration's 5310 fund source and our PPRTA funds that we contract through an IGA with the city of Colorado Springs. Out of all of this, there are public processes along the way. However, the Federal Transit Administration Section 5310 does require a 30-day public comment period, and today's report is simply to ask for that to be open today. As was mentioned earlier, because this was presented in our initial funding allocation recommendations, we have already received one public comment, and we've received a couple of comments and questions that are not part of public record yet, but we do expect formal public comment to come as part of this 30-day period. So I'd like to ask, since I can't see in the room, I'd like to ask Laura Cruz, our mobility coordinator who manages our 5310 and PPRTA funding related to our transportation projects for older adults, to come on up to the podium and share more details around this funding and this request for public comment 30-day period.
Thank you, Laura. Go ahead.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. As Jody mentioned, this is something that we go through a process every 2 years now to select projects for the 5310 funding that we receive through FTA. So the 5310 funding can only be used for programs that serve seniors and individuals with disabilities. It's a unique funding source because it can actually be used for individuals that are below age 60, which is a little bit untypical for typical AAA programs. But this year we have $816,000 that we have budgeted. This is based upon what we receive from Mountain Metro Transit of PPRTA funds that flow through Mountain Metro Transit to PPACG, as well as our apportionment that we received from FTA. The $816,000, essentially we had 2 agencies that applied for funding. These are our current contracted providers under 5310. Both of these agencies, as you can see in the table here, we have Envita and Silver Key Senior Services. We had over $1 million in requests. So therefore we have to look at those requests and figure out from the perspective of looking at our full funding allotment of transportation funds and figuring out how to whittle that down and ensure that we are able to do our best to provide continuity of service. So what we are asking for today is to open up a 30-day public comment period, as Jody mentioned. Our recommendations that came from the technical review subcommittee of our regional advisory committee, and then also presented to the TAC, are $521,000 to Envita and $427,864 to Silver Key Senior Services. It's pretty close to a little bit close to an even split here. And that's what we have kind of done in the past as well. All of these applications were scored by the TRS. We do recognize that through the four-year plan process with the AAA that our top two needs that were identified through those community conversations, as well as getting input from this board, were transportation and food assistance for older adults. And so you can see that both of these agencies we are proposing an increase of funding for, knowing that there is an increase of transportation need as well as costs to providing those services. So asking for a motion today to open up a 30-day public comment period. We will bring the comments to the TAC this next month, and then come to you the following month to present those comments and request your approval of the distribution of these funds.
Okay, thank you very much. Jody, anything else?
No, ma'am. Just to clarify, this is a blending, and so the only thing that is open truly for public comment for this specific is the FTA portion. However, because we already have presented the initial funding allocation recommendations from staff and RAC, and the TAC also had it, is that the current current providers, as well as those additionals who have applied for funding, have seen some of these requests and the blended funding. And so we do expect to receive additional public comment during this period. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the motion we're being asked for today is just to put it out for public comment. Okay, all right, thank you. What can the board like to do with it?
Madam Chair, I'll move we open up the FTA for public comment.
And I'll second.
Can we have a motion in a second? Is there any further deliberation from the board? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. I'm kind of keeping an eye on the clock. We thought Mayor Mobilotti might be here around 9:30.
He was on his way about 10 minutes ago, about 10 minutes out. Or
Okay.
maybe 5 minutes.
Do we want to go ahead and start the next item or take a short break, or what would you like to do?
Next item is going to take a little bit longer.
That's
Paul's
what I
going to give a
thought.
presentation on the
Yeah.
military installation resiliency grant application.
Mm-hmm.
Take a little bit to kind of work through all that. You could certainly take other items out of order, like the bylaws adoption if we're ready, because that should be fairly straightforward.
Okay, is the board okay with kind of going out of order on the agenda to take care of some shorter items while we wait? Okay, all righty. So let's go ahead and we're going to skip item C and we'll come back to that. And then, so the bylaws adoption, item D, Jared.
I caught Jared off guard, but he's always ready.
Sounds like a motto of a group I know.
Good morning, everyone. Jared Werner, Public Information Officer at Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. We brought this item to you last month just because we were within the 10-day notice that we had to give to the board. The only things that we have changed from when we brought it to you last month was just expanding out, for example, if it said PPACG, spelling out Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. And then just confirming that if it said council, was that in reference to the council of governments or was that in reality for the board of directors? So those were the changes that we made in the document that we provided to the board on March 1st, ahead of the 10-day requirement. There was one change that we came up with in consultation with CDOT and the Colorado State Transportation Commission. It's just basically clarifying language on page 2 of the cleaned up bylaws under the stack. Just basically, the last sentence would read, any participating member located within multiple transportation planning regions shall not be a primary or alternate representative from the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments to the statewide Transportation Advisory Committee if it already has voting membership on the State Transportation Advisory Committee in another transportation planning region. Just adding in those last two State Transportation Advisory Committee references at the very end to clarify that those appointments are not voting members within a TPRs, but voting members to the stack. Herman Stockinger from CDOT reviewed that language and thought that that accomplished the goal of clarifying that, for example, a member who sits on both PPACG's board and the TPR TPR does not have 2 votes at the stack. He felt that that accomplished it. So that would be a change from what we distributed. But other than that, everything else is beyond those kind of cleanup items of what we distributed on March 1st. So happy to take any questions.
And just further clarification, because it's been about a month since we talked about these, the other changes of note that we included in the bylaws, this was mostly cleanup, but we just wanted to make sure that it was clear for executive sessions. When the board goes into executive session, that's just for voting members to be part of that conversation. For committees, subcommittees that are formed by the board, like the legislative committee, it's just voting members of the PPACG board that can be voting members on those subcommittees. We cleaned up the membership. That was a little bit of a mess, quite honestly, because we had 3 different categories of membership as non-voting members to the PPACG board. We had something called honorary members that included our entire state legislative delegation and our federal delegation. They were honorary members. I don't think they ever knew that. We also had a couple of other sections with ex officio and special members, and we just suggested including all of that into ex officio members, which would include our transportation commissioner. If we had a commissioner on the Air Quality Control Commission, that could be an ex officio member to the PPACG board, and also the Water Quality Control Commission at the state level. So positions like that, we just call all of those ex officio, and the board establishes who they are each year at your annual meeting in January. So it was very confusing, and just wanted to clean all that up. The second document that you have is the meeting procedures that we worked up. And that just basically formalizes what our public comment process is going to be. We've talked a lot about, we can't regulate content of somebody testifying, but remind folks that they've got 3 minutes. We try to keep them on task with issues that are in front of the board, but if they can exercise their First Amendment rights and talk about virtually anything, but if they're starting to get out of line, you can remind them that, this is all being recorded, and we can provide a copy of this to the district attorney's office. Heaven forbid we had to go that direction. So we just clarified what our public procedures and input process is going to look like. Jared did a really good job kind of cleaning up what signing up in advance, registering for public comment would look like beforehand to try to dissuade some of those negative comments that may end up coming forward that other jurisdictions have been experiencing. And just other basic meeting procedures that we clarified as well, that you should keep you should keep your camera on. If you're participating remotely, it should, not must, but if we're in executive session, you do need to keep your camera on if we're in executive session and a board member is remote. So things like that we're also going to share out with our other committees like the CAC and the TAC and others. So we're all kind of operating by the same meeting procedure guidelines. So glad we had a chance to clean all this up. It was past due.
And the ex officio members are not voting members. They're just
correct
members.
Right.
Okay. All right. Okay. Is there any questions or comments on any of the bylaw changes from anybody? Thank you for all that work. Having been there and done that, I know it's a lot of work. So thank you very much. You should have seen the list of members we had before the last bylaw.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah. All right. I'm not seeing any hands raised online. Yes.
Yes, I'd like to ask Jared if you could get any more TV monitors on that table.
We could, yeah.
Don't tempt them. Don't tempt them. All right. Okay. Any questions or comments about the bylaws? If not, what would the board like to do with this?
Madam Chair, I move we adopt the bylaws as written.
I'll second John Graham.
Got like a little contest going on over there about who can push the buttons fast enough, huh? All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further deliberation? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Thank you for all your hard work, everybody. I know Holly
Yep.
was on it. I believe Dick was on it and
Eric Stone.
Eric Stone.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody, for that hard work.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe I see movement out in the lobby, kind of like the Secret Service out there. So, oh, there we go. You snuck in. Okay. All right, Mobile Lobby, come on down. That sounds like a game show. Please come down. Oh, you need to push the mic on there. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Take two. Good morning, everyone.
morning.
Mayor Sharon, thank you for having me, and to my esteemed colleagues in the House. It's an honor to be here. I wanted to come to have the opportunity to see you all, to meet you all, and just share a few words. You know, when I assumed becoming mayor of Colorado Springs, one of the things I prioritized was making my rounds, was kicking off my administration with just going around the community and meeting the many public servants and residents that really help move our community forward. And this group is one of the groups I've been wanting to see and meet, and to also thank you in person for the great work that you are doing. So to the members of the PPACG board of El Paso, Teller, and Park counties, Executive Director Andy Gunnan, and the staff, and all the area partners and federal agencies and the military and our Citizens Advisory Group. Thank you, really. Thank you for the work that you do. They say it takes a village, and they also say we're better together. And I believe that our community will not flourish if we're not working together in settings like this. So I appreciate the work you do to prioritize transportation projects, to serve our seniors, to plan for our military growth, and to represent us on air and water quality issues, and advocate for our infrastructure issues as well. My priorities for the city of Colorado Springs, and in the best way, aligns with your priorities as well. So I believe that together we can be stronger. I see my colleagues in the House too, city council members. So I know that that with their participation, we will help ensure that this region is strong and this region is flourishing. So with that, even though I know I don't sit directly on this board, I do want to open up for any kind of questions you have for me. Well, actually, my question for you is, how can I assist? How can I be a better partner to this group? And I know there's some folks on a virtual call as well. So greetings to you as well.
Right. All right. Thank you very much. We actually do have an ask. We anticipated you asking.
Okay.
Yeah. Pretty good, huh? All righty. We have a position we've been trying to get somebody onto that has to be appointed by the governor.
Okay.
Onto the Air Quality Control Commission.
Okay.
And El Paso County in this whole geographic area has no representation. However, the entire region, including CSU, is greatly impacted by the rulemaking decisions that this Air Quality Control Management Group makes. I believe we have someone from the area who has put in an application for it, and it's kind of stalled. So we were wondering if you could if you had any kind of.
Do you mind me asking?
Former, hello, Mr. Mayor, Andy Gunning, former Teller County Commissioner Norm Steen has applied for it, has extensive experience in transportation planning, was on this body for about 8 years, would be a great advocate. But we understand a couple other appointments were made just last week, and he's again kind of on the sidelines. And as Mayor Thompson mentioned, there's a lot of decision-making that's coming down from the Air Quality Control Commission. A lot of it impacts Denver, but a lot of it's up and down the Front Range as well, including our region. And we just would really love to have our voice heard at that table.
Okay.
Yep.
And we need to be there. It's one of the second largest counties. Are we the largest county yet? Are we the largest county now? Okay, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we are the largest county.
Okay.
But is Norm Steen still a candidate then for the position?
As of last week, he's still interested and still a candidate.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I thought we had been talking about him like maybe even a year ago. I didn't realize that we hadn't gotten there yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can tell you that on this particular point, when I ran into the governor at one point, he really actually asked that we get this filled.
Okay.
He also made some comments that he felt it would be important to have somebody from this region so that the Air Quality Control Commission would be better balanced. And he had a specific meaning with those words, but I'll leave that to let you interpret that yourself. But I think Norm Steen could provide that balance.
Okay.
So I don't know if what do we have to do to go forward can have him become our representative?
Nominations are made by the governor and approved by the Senate at the state level. So kind of in a holding pattern.
So the governor has to be the one to nominate Norm.
Yes, sir.
If this is going to move forward.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Norm Steen is from Teller County?
Yes.
Yeah, so it appears that we still need someone from El Paso County.
Well, I would be comfortable with Norm because it's just part of our PPACG region. And I think we would be represented well there. So.
And I appreciate the comment myself, but Norm's part of the family. He is.
Yeah. So if you have any input there or
I
any
will bring
chance to
that, I will
slide
bring that up
something
on
in?
Friday. So I actually requested a meeting with the governor on Friday because as you know, the greenhouse roadmap that recently got passed is it's not great. And so one of the reasons why it's going to affect CSU and affect our community is because we were not at the table. So when I spoke briefly with the governor about it, he didn't realize how the impact would have on a city-owned utility company. They hadn't even considered that. So I've asked for a meeting on Friday so that we can figure out perhaps El Paso County and Colorado Springs in particular can not have to follow some of those new rules that have been passed on to us. So I will bring this up too as well and see how we can move this forward. Anything else?
Sounds like a great tie-in to your conversation, actually.
Exactly.
So, yeah, perfect timing then. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else, any comments or? Yes.
Yes, thank you. Mayor, there is another bill that I think went into effect in January this year, and I brought it up at our legislative meeting with our legislators in January. My apologies, I'm not going to remember the title of the bill, but everybody will know it as the bill that requires much more extensive greenhouse gas reductions for buildings, both public and private, that are over 50,000 square feet. So the requirements that were set in that bill are pretty onerous. And even our LEEDs certified regional building does not qualify to meet that requirement. And that's going to cost our community here millions and millions of dollars for compliance. That's a real issue, but there's several bills that are like this, but I wanted to bring this up as an example that are going to be really harmful for the community. And if a LEED certified building isn't good enough, then what are we doing with these laws?
You don't know the name of the bill, do you?
No, but I can certainly get that unless you have that handy.
It was approved by the aforementioned Air Quality Control Commission in a rulemaking. I think it was November or December, just the end of last year.
So it was actually a ruling from Air
commission.
Quality Control Commission.
Yeah, it was Regulation 28. That's the one I did the testimony on, and there's basically two pending lawsuits.
Could you speak a little bit louder?
Oh, that's the one I testified on. There's basically two pending lawsuits. I don't know the status of those lawsuits, but I know I'm going to have to go up and testify.
Yeah, so thank you. So it has two lawsuits, and that's our regional building, which uses solar panels to gain greenhouse gas compliance, doesn't meet that requirement.
Yep.
So these are pretty radical requirements. And there's no easy path forward for compliance on these things, except basically to take the heating plants out of the buildings and make them 100% electric.
Yeah, I actually went as far in my testimony to call it arbitrary and capricious, and in addition, trying to force electrification, which my understanding is under federal law, that's a no-no.
Hence the lawsuits.
Mayor, do you
One
know-
state, one federal.
Do you know what bill that is?
It was not a bill. It's a
It's a
regulation
okay.
28 that they modified,
Okay.
revised, put in place. It might have been a brand new one.
I think we got somebody online. I believe we have a hand online. Oh, okay, go ahead.
I was just going to provide a little more insight. So the bill that the regulation came from was House Bill 22-1362, I believe. And then the rulemaking followed that bill.
Okay. And that was for the 50,000 square foot buildings.
I believe so, just on a quick search.
Okay. Now I heard there's a bill this year. They're trying to make it down to 25,000 square feet.
That wouldn't.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize the point that when a LEED certified building can't meet that requirement, this is just going too far. So the whole point of LEED certification is for greenhouse gas reduction, and it can't even meet the requirement. So
maybe I'll tie it into your conversation.
I know.
Points. Yeah. Yeah. The electrification is very difficult. I mean, some of the things they want to do are extremely expensive. I mean, just converting all your, they want all the lawnmowers battery operating. You just think of some of the lawns you guys mow around up here. Yeah. It just.
And that's one of the challenges of that roadmap is that it's going to increase the cost dramatically to our ratepayers. Right.
Right. Unintended, unfunded mandates, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think we're all on the same page with the unfunded mandate mantra. And I think if we all just keep hanging in there with that, maybe we'll make some progress.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anything else?
Appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me, really.
You are welcome anytime. And you can't have a vote, but you can come back anytime.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. All righty, we will go back to item 5C, military installation resiliency. Mr. Rochette.
I can just interrupt real quick.
Yes.
We've lost a couple monitors over here. So if the IT guy would reboot us or something.
Are you talking to yourself?
No,
Oh.
he knows who I'm talking to.
Yeah, mine went off for a second and then it came back on. So yours didn't come back on. Okay. All right. Are you okay if we keep moving forward? Okay, I want to make sure. Right. Okay, thank you. Right, go
All
ahead.
right. Within this room, unfortunately, I have sometimes a pretty loud voice. So if we don't have microphones, I'd be okay anyway. But Madam Chair, Council folks, board members, thank you so much for having me be able to brief you on what we're doing here. I'd like to give you an update on our military planning program that we have at PPACG. And to do that, I'd like to just first of all go over just a little bit about what we're doing in our current grant, which is set to expire at the end of June of this year. And we will be applying with your approval for a new grant called a Military Installation Resiliency Review, an MER grant. And in order to talk about the MER grant that we're going to be going for, I wanted to bring you up to speed a little bit of what we're doing right at the moment to show the continuity between the two of them. But in our current grant, we had several programs or several tasks that we made a great deal of progress on in this past 2 years. And the first one is under wildfire mitigation. And the wildfire mitigation efforts that we're undergoing right now, what we've accomplished so far, first of all, is we have successfully applied for and received an award from the it's called the REPI Challenge Program. It's a DoD program, and we received $424,000 to do wildfire mitigation on Cheyenne Mountain State Park for the protection of Cheyenne Mountain Space Force Station. With that success, we are now begun the process of applying for REPI Challenge Grant number 2. And this one here, we're still in the formation stage, but we've been working very closely with the U.S. Forest Service and the City of Colorado Springs Fire Department. And we have another meeting coming up next week to really kind of flesh this out, what we're going to go after. We may include Colorado Springs Utilities. We may include El Paso County Sheriff's Office. We may look to see if we can include the town of Monument, the Monument Fire Department. We may additionally add some more to Cheyenne Mountain Space Station, but that's still in a formation phase. And this one, we're looking at $2 to $3 million grant for wildfire mitigation. At the same time, we did receive an award from the state of Colorado to write some community wildfire protection plans. We've received 4 proposals. We've reviewed them. We're very close to making our selections of what consulting firm or firm will receive these grants to write the protection plans. The protection plans are for Monument, for Woodman Valley, and for Highway 115 Fire Protection District to the west of Fort Carson. We're continuing to work with the City of Colorado Springs and USAFA on perhaps getting a grant from the state called a furworm grant, Colorado State Forest Service Restoration Wildfire Risk Mitigation Program. That's why we use the acronym furworm. And this would actually be to do mitigation work on USAFA as well as on City of Colorado Springs property. It's the only grant we know of where we can actually do work on a military installation. We're also in the process of setting up a program to do some community meetings concerning wildfire and military installations using our JLUS, our current program, the Joint Land Use Study, particularly along the southern border of USAFA, and that's to address citizens' concerns about wildfire. Possibly we'll be working with, do some other work with Colorado Springs Fire Department and USAFA to develop some other new grants. There's some grant opportunities. We don't know if they fit yet or not, but this is what the next couple of months we'll be looking at. These would be grants in conjunction with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the National Park Service. Meanwhile, we're working on stormwater. That is a JLUS grant, and we've been working with the Fountain Creek Watershed District, USAFA, the town of Monument, El Paso County, and there's a possibility that we'll be looking at some specific actions to put into our upcoming MER grant. That's still in the works and it's still unknown, but it would be to develop some some design work for a project on Jackson Creek to ameliorate some of the damages throughout USAFA. New thing that we're going to ask, we're working on it now, but it'll be for part of the MER grant, is we're going to recommend that we create a new advisory committee, restructure the advisory committees we have now. We'd like to establish a senior leadership committee and specific working groups for some of the tasks that we'll have in the MER grant. And the senior leadership committee will include senior military and civilian leaders. And we do anticipate we would like to have a couple of representatives here from the PPACG board. Andy, I could put up that initial list if you'd like, or we can wait. I have been working on some ideas. I've not contacted folks, but I've got about 15 to 20 people that I think would be very good to be on this leadership committee, but I look at them as the ones who really give us the direction on what we're going to do on some of the MER grants that'll be coming up in the next round. And then finally, we're using the next few months to prepare the MER grant, which really needs to be given to our funder, the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation, which we use the acronym OLDCC. And they're looking for it in mid to late April. So we really only have 4 to 6 weeks to get this grant hammered down. And that will require the senior leadership group to give us some initial direction for that grant. In the upcoming grant that we're looking for, this would be from July 1, 2024 through December 31st, 2025. And we have 5 major tasks in this grant. And the first one is just continued wildfire mitigation. So as we put together this REPI Challenge number 2, it goes through 2 rounds to be approved. The first round is due in early June, mid-June. We'll do that under the JLUS. If we're selected, like we were with the last one, that'll be due in August or September. And if it's granted, it would be funded starting January 1, 2025. We also would like in this grant period, we see doing subsequent and continual REPI grant challenges. So we'd like to start working on REPI Challenge Grant number 3, and that would be next year to turn in next June. And we'd also like to continue to assist with other wildfire grant-related development. There are several projects that OLDCC has asked us to include in the MER. And the first one is a tabletop exercise. And I've not been through a tabletop exercise before, and I know many people have, but essentially it's convening people throughout the community, both military and civilian, to deal with potential crises in the future, and how do we as a community respond to that? That could be a cyber warfare, that could be a major wildfire along the Front Range, it could be a 500-year flood, it could be contamination of the water supply. There's a lot of different possible projects, and we're anticipating doing at least 2 of them under this MER grant. That one would definitely need the direction of the senior leadership group to pick what these topics should be. The next task in the MER grant will be a critical infrastructure analysis, and that's developing an inventory of planned and needed major infrastructure over the next 5 to 10 years. We will get guidance on what that needs to contain from Old CC. And we will work closely with utilities and other infrastructure agencies and local governments to put this thing together. The fourth one is a housing needs analysis for low and mid pay grade service members. Jeff Bone recognized that in the state of the base last week. And our idea here is we will assist 2 existing efforts in the community and maybe more should we, as we determine what they are. But one is the Pikes Peak Housing Network through that is a unique entity under working out of the El Paso, the Colorado Springs Economic Development offices, but also work with the City of Colorado Springs housing plan in order to make sure that the needs of the military are recognized and included in these other housing plans. And then we'd like to continue with stormwater facilitation. We've been working with USAFA, El Paso County Town and Monument, and the Fountain Creek Watershed District. And a possibility just came up the other day that we are exploring whether we can actually go after some design funds for a project on Jackson Creek leading into Monument Creek. That's still a lot of moving parts and a lot of entities involved, all to be hammered, locked down by mid-April. We may be able to do it. We may not be able to do it, but we'd like to include that in the MER. So our current forecasted cost for this MER grant is in the $700,000 to $800,000 range for 18 months. And of that, we're anticipating making a very significant effort to track all of the in-kind soft dollar match that we can. There's a 10% match, but we can use in-kind dollars, and that includes the time that you all spend on this, as well as time that all the senior leadership committee folks sit on these meetings, and then all the other local government and private sector and nonprofit sector time that's involved. So we're hoping to reduce our local match, the hard dollar match, as low as we can possibly go. And I've got some thumbnail guesses, but they're just thumbnail guesses, and you never make thumbnail guesses public, right? So anyway, with that, and that's kind of what we're hoping to do. And we'd like your guidance on this, your approval on this, and then we can get this grant prepared for submission in April. Questions?
Okay, questions for anybody? I would acknowledge we were just joined by Commissioner Brimmer. So thank you, Commissioner Brimmer, for coming on today, and Commissioner Stone. So, all right. Everybody's getting here today, and that's good, right?
I'll let her recognize.
All righty. And so questions?
Yeah, I'm just curious. I've run into trouble before on matching when we try to use volunteer versus staff hours.
Yes.
Is there a distinction there? And it's just for my own.
There is. Volunteer hours have a specific dollar amount attached to them, and I think it's around $25 an hour. Volunteers higher than that? Well, that's good. For staff hours, I believe, and I'm still waiting for clarification. I've had verbal clarification, but not written clarification that we can use the fully loaded cost. And that's a lot higher. So.
And those are considered in-kind dollars.
Those are in-kind dollars.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
And we would need to seek pre-approval from DOD for
Yep.
whatever rate and volume that we're able to capture.
Yes. And I have an email out requesting clarification. I haven't received an answer yet.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Is there, and Jared, let me know if there's any hands online.
And I'm sorry, Madam Chair, one suggestion for folks to think about. I know we had one volunteer step up this past Friday at the workshop. We could use 2 or 3 representatives of the board to serve on the leadership committee that Paul mentioned. We want to flesh that out and get the group together sooner rather than later to start digging into some of these details as we refine the scope. So I know Councilmember Donaldson suggested maybe willing. So yeah, but we could
So
use a couple.
let's just collect names, send them to Andy if you're interested. And it was 18-month time commitment, right? So it's not a lifetime
Correct.
commitment, 18
Correct.
months. Okay, all righty. And I think we've all lost our signals up here now. So it seems to be the theme of the day. So do we just turn it, you want to just turn them on and off again? Or?
Cybersecurity attack.
Okay. All righty. Okay, so I don't see any questions or further discussion, so let's go ahead. And what would the board like to do with item 5D, the military installation resiliency review? Raise your hand, because maybe we lost the mic, so raise your hand.
No, the mics work.
Okay, go ahead, Councilmember
I
Donovan.
move approval.
And Mayor Pro Tem?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval. Any further deliberation? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you very much.
Thank all of you.
All right. And that takes us on to item 5E, legislative update. Warner is busy with computers. So let's skip that while he's getting the computers going again, and we will go on to item 5F, public building electrification grant. Ms. McBroom, sorry to throw you out of order like that, but.
Hey, good morning, Carol McBroom, PPACG Finance Director. I am here to talk about the building. We are currently in negotiations with Train to install a building automation system. The estimated project cost is 1.2 million. The scope would include automating the air handling system, updating valves, VAV boxes, and replacing all the piping. The overall project will increase efficiency, lower operating and maintenance costs, and improve indoor air quality and comfort. So this building is 50 years old, 2 stories, close to 20,000 square feet. We can't control the HVAC system anymore, as you probably have noticed over the last few months you've been here. The leakage is caused from, it's causing the compressor to run continuously and inefficiently. And we have included, we've invited in professionals to come in and to give us kind of guidance. And they all agree that the air handling system is obsolete and that it needs to be replaced. So then we went out to figure out how we're going to pay for this 1.2 million. And we did find a grant from the state called the Public Building Electrification Grant through the Colorado Energy Office. And talking with them, at first they didn't believe we qualified, but then they kind of backed off and they changed their parameters. And as long as we could prove a tremendous amount of efficiencies, they believed that we would qualify for this grant. So we will, with your approval, be submitting a grant application. So when we are looking at the 1.2 million, the funding would include ARPA funding, which is already here inside of PPACG. It is admin funds that was already submitted to PPACG to administer the ARPA program. The $500,000 building electrification grant would be included, and then PPACG would come up with the additional 200,000. That's best case scenario. Just to give you some background, we started having issues in 2023. Again, we went to professionals to look at our system to see where, see what the issues were, to see what the improvements were. And this building automation system was the best way to move forward. So that's where we were as of last Friday, the last time we talked about it. But I do need to give you some updates for transparency and just to be respectful, so you have all the information. And so basically, Train has to have the $1.2 million PO signed by the end of this month for us to meet the August deadline. And the August deadline is important for a couple of reasons. It gives us a little bit of leeway with timing if there was any situations of backlogs of ordering items, because the ARPA funding has to be spent by September 30th. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that not only would I like to apply for this grant, but I also need you to understand that we need to get the PO signed as soon as possible.
What's the timeline on the grant?
So the grant application has to be in by April 5th. It's the first week of April. They require 3 weeks to review, and then we'll get notification whether we apply or not. The backup plan is we've already been talking to CPACE and we've already been talking to our bank. So we are funded. If we have to come up with worst case scenario, which would be around the 700,000, we're funded. So that would be worst case scenario.
Okay, so we apply for the grant. If it doesn't come in time, we go ahead with the funding from the bank. If the grant comes in.
So no work can be completed. We can't start anything until we get the approval from the grant, which the reason why the PO has to be signed so early is because they have to make orders. They have to order all the process. Right. Yeah. So
yeah, I'm just making sure we got everything covered.
Yeah.
Right. And in conversations with the bank, either if we go with the CPACE approach or just a straight loan from the bank, it would be what, a 20 to 25-year loan roughly that we've started to analyze, and we can factor that in and we can absorb that. We can make that work.
True.
Also potentially could use our unallocated fund balance, reserve balance, basically, as a portion of it as well if the grant does not come through. So what we would suggest is, I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but we could do bring a budget amendment forward once we understand what's going to happen if we have the grant. If that's funded, this is what the scenario would look like, and get that adopted as far as a budget amendment. Or if the grant isn't approved, what that scenario would look like. And we can bring that forward. We're thinking, what, next month? Is that,
I mean,
or after we find out from the
yeah,
energy office? Yes.
Most likely May.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like to, just a couple of other things. We talked about this at the work session on Friday, and I did it was pointed out that Colorado Springs Utilities came out and did an assessment on basically the energy efficiency, the condition of the HVAC system, and it is very bad, and we're wasting lots of energy. It needs to be replaced. So it's not just that Train came out here and told us it's a good idea to pay them. We've kind of had an impartial party do that. It's maintenance that needs to be done. I support it. And so I don't know if we're ready for a motion or what, but yeah.
Thank you for letting us know that piece. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, Madam Chair. Now, we go forward with this, with the PO, okay, by the end of the month. Is that going to lock in then actually the materials and all that kind of stuff? Because all that stuff's increasing. So
yeah, it would
lock it all in?
Yes, to answer your question, yes. And that's why it's important to get it in by the end of the month, is that is their requirements to keep to the budget that we have right now.
Because they will honor their quote for through the month, but then beyond that, it gets a little bit risky.
Commissioner Vanderwood.
Yes, thank you. So if I'm understanding this correctly, this would be about electrifying the heating plant for this building. Is that correct?
So actually, we're kind of putting that in there, the electrification part, to be able to submit for the grant. But basically, the air handling system, it's its own issue and has to be dealt with. What makes it part of this grant eligibility is some of the VAV boxes that we'll be putting in will be, it will allow us to be electrified if we switch our boilers to heat pumps. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm not an HVAC expert, but that's what it was explained to me.
But you might want to point out that right now heat is water heat, right? It's boilers.
We do have boilers. Yeah. So we are gas.
Radiator right there.
Yeah. So we do have gas, water heater, gas boilers. So that is not changing. Our HVAC system itself is in great condition. That doesn't need to be changed. The only thing that the $1.2 million is basically affecting how the air is moving from the boilers and the AC unit throughout the 20,000 square feet.
Oh, okay. So the heating plant is not being changed.
It's-
It's the air handling system that's
Correct.
being changed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
And Madam Chair, I think somebody was asking too about, do we own the building? We do own it. So as homeowners, we've all got to take care of things that just break down over time. We've owned it for about 20, 25 years, I think. Building's 50 years old. So, I mean, this is a commitment that we're not going anywhere. We're going to be staying here. So, yeah, we just feel that it's time to finally take the plunge with this.
All right, our HVAC expert mayor over there. Are we explaining it all right?
Yeah, I get it. I understand
Well, I
it.
know you get it. I know you get it. It's the
Yeah.
rest of us that
I
have
feel,
to
I
get
feel successful, actually.
it. All right, you could talk shorthand and you would get it about it. So, all right, any other questions? And thank you for that clarification, because I think that is important to make sure the
Yeah.
heating system's not just the way we're moving it around. So, yeah.
Well, and so actually the reason why I was asking that question and I wanted to understand it is that if it was going to be converted completely to electric, that would be, I have to believe that that would be a substantial electric demand. And then I would be interested in some kind of certification from CSU or somebody saying the infrastructure could even handle it.
Yeah, when I talked to the utilities, they made that exact point that we couldn't go that route until they did their due
Did
diligence
their
on their
infrastructure
side.
to, yeah. So keeping the heating plant as is and just dealing with the air handling system, that sounds like the reasonable approach. Okay.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Commissioner, Councilman
Oh,
Donaldson, you ready to make
I'm
the
just ready to
motion?
make the motion.
Okay, go ahead.
So as someone who spent 3 years in Iraq sweating profusely, I strongly support this and I move approval.
Second.
Okay. You can't beat that motion. Yeah.
Second.
I'll be in a second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further deliberation? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries.
And Madam Chair,
A little breath holding back there, huh?
right, we may be looking for a cool place to meet this summer. So just we'll talk more about that later.
All right, Woodland Park, where are you? All right. All righty. Okay, so we're going back now to item 5E, the legislative update. Jared.
Good morning once again, Jared Verner.
Nobody break anything in the next
Yeah, Public
5 minutes.
Information Officer / MacGyver. We did have meetings yesterday and apparently they were nicer to the equipment than everyone else here. So no, I'm kidding. But for our legislative update, we are halfway through this legislative session. We are seeing bill volume that we typically don't see for another 4, 5, 6 weeks. So yeah, it's been a good ride so far. We've got a long ways left to go. The legislative committee meets every Monday at 8:30. Anyone who isn't already attending is more than welcome to attend, provide input. The committee has so far this session reviewed 73 bills, have taken positions on 43 of them. Since the last time we met in February, there has been 27 new bills that the committee has taken a position on. I'm sorry, 27 bills, 16 new bills that the committee is recommending positions on. I'm sorry. So supporting 2 new bills, House Bill 241312, State Income Tax Credit for Caregivers, and Senate Bill 24174, Sustainable Affordable Housing Assistance. The committee is also recommending opposition to 4 bills, 1304, Minimum Parking Requirements, 1313, Housing and Transit-Oriented Communities, 1338, Cumulative Impacts and Environmental Justice, and 1339, Disproportionately Impacted Community Air Pollution. The committee is also recommending monitoring 7 bills, which I've listed the bill numbers in the memo. Happy to answer any questions. I'm also will defer to the committee chairs if they would like to answer any questions, provide any additional input. But we are just looking at board approval. This does require 2/3 majority vote.
Mayor Dixon, Commissioner Stone.
Yeah, I
you
don't have
any
anything
comments?
additional to add.
Okay. I would like to say it was really exciting to, we got invited to be part of the mayor's, some of us to be part of the mayor's press conference on supporting 106. So Mayor LaKine, Mayor Yimmy and I were up there. So El Paso County had a nice presence. We kind of got ourselves right in the front row that we're going to hang together, and photos coming out have myself and Mayor Yimmy, and you're behind the speaker. So you didn't get in the photos.
That was intentional.
Okay. All right.
For a brief moment. And then when Mayor Yemi went up to speak, that's when I shifted
Oh,
just to make sure I got a little screen time.
okay. All right. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. With regard to 106, what is the current status? Is it progressing through without amendments, or are there amendments?
There are definitely amendments. It has been held over now for a second week, or laid over, whatever term they're using. I don't know if those amendments are going to make the bill better, but I know at least one of them was to reduce the 2/3 majority of an association down to 60%. So it seems like there's been some compromise. There were many people who wanted the number lower in order to take action on it and execute a class action lawsuit against a construction defect. And so far, the only thing I've heard is that it dropped from 2/3 to 60%. I'm sure there's going to be more.
Okay. I also was aware that there was a debate going on about 106 with regard to what do the rights of the owners of the condos have after the developer conducts a cure action. And some had concerns about the bill that the owner of the condo did not have any rights, and then others were arguing that they actually still did have rights with 106. So where did that component of the discussion go?
I haven't heard updates.
Okay.
I know that I've reached out to Representative Wilson, and then tomorrow we have our legislative Monument and Fountain have a legislative update tomorrow. So we may hear from our lobbyist, and I'd be happy to share that information or we can share it to the group or share it individually, whatever.
Okay, thank you.
So if I may, I'll just jump in there. From what we heard from one of the prime sponsors, Senator Zinzinger, is that there was going to be amendments tied to the question you asked. I have not seen the text of those amendments. But when the testimony ended last Tuesday, she referenced that there was going to be amendments along those lines to kind of clarify and alleviate those concerns.
Okay, thank you. That's what I had heard also, but I guess based on what you just mentioned, those amendments have not been introduced yet.
I have not seen those yet, no.
Okay, thank you.
I do know also Mayor Pro Tem King testified in support of it, and they called my name at the same time as his, but I figured it was 8:05 p.m. They didn't need my input at that time of night, so I didn't even bother to sign in. So they were there a very, very long day. I don't know how they do it, and keep it all straight. So we need a motion to approve the legislative update positions. Is that correct? What you're asking for?
We do, and we can do them all in one batch.
Love
or
to do
we-
them in one batch.
Yeah, or we could do them piecemeal like last time, but I think Cheryl and I would prefer one batch if there's consensus enough.
Right. Okay. Alrighty. So those are the positions, and I need a motion from the board if what they would like to do.
I'll make a motion to approve the positions stated in this particular item.
5E.
Second, Eric Stone, Teller County.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further deliberation from the board? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Even though we were slightly out of order with everything today, I believe we are through with all the action items. Just want to double check since we kind of jumped around. All right. And that takes us on to other reports and minutes. And most of them, there's either no presentation or they're in your packet. So that takes us to item 6H, the CDOT monthly update. First of all, I would like to thank you for addressing my concerns about the accidents between 132 and 135. I believe having the vehicles sitting there, whether it's SEMA or State Patrol, anybody with the lights flashing, people are paying attention and slowing down a little bit before they get to that.
Yeah, no, completely
area.
understand. I mean, these are challenging times whenever it comes to speed reductions through construction zones. And brings me to a point. Next month is our traffic awareness month for CDOT, for the construction industry. CDOT may not be in attendance at PPACG next month. We're going to try to, but we have our Remembrance Day at the same time as the Board of Directors meeting next month. So at a minimum, I'm going to try to call in after our ceremony has been completed. So if there's any updates, because there's definitely a few items on our agenda here that we'll have some answers to at that point. So just a few items to discuss. MAMSIP, we're setting girders for that second half of the bridge on the 9th of March 18th and 19th next week, assuming the weather holds for us. Airport and Powers went to advertisement. The interchange project went to advertisement. We plan to open bids on April 4th. I'll say we're definitely receiving quite a bit of interest from the contractor community. So I'm really excited just to see how the bids come in for that project. US 24 surface treatment project out east. We will open the bids on that project on the 21st of March. And one other project of note is Colorado 67 up in Woodland Park. Those bids opened, I believe, a couple of weeks ago, and we had to reject the bids. The bids came in almost 40% over our budget. And so we're going to sit back, bring in some more money, kind of assess what happened, and re-advertise that project in the fall. In the meantime, we will have our maintenance team out there to do a skin patch, if you will, or surface treatment, just to try to patch up some of the work and get through the summer and winter again. So unfortunate on the bids, but we're still seeing that fluctuation in construction bids from time to time. So other projects of note, Fillmore to Garden of the Gods, it's still progressing pretty well. We've had a little bit of a slowdown this winter, of course. Same with 285 and 9 out in Park County. With that, I'll open it up for questions you guys may have for CDOT.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? Sorry, I was trying to take the photo while you were talking. And yes, Standerworth. That's a new one. I am so
Standerworth,
sorry.
good, yeah. Combining those two names together.
Standerworth.
Just the 115 project, I drove by there a couple weeks ago, and I was just interested in what's the status and how far along are we and all that stuff.
If I recall correctly, so I don't have it in front of me, but if I recall correctly, we expect to have that wrapped up this probably fall, late fall, early winter.
Okay.
They're progressing pretty well. I believe the bridge ought to be close to wrapped up if it's not this summer, early summer.
Okay, thank you. So the plan is a bridge maybe by summer and full project by fall.
Late fall, early winter, correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yes.
Sure.
Councilmember Donaldson.
You know, for citizens in the city, they can call a certain phone number for potholes. There's a couple ways they can address that. What is it on I-25? If inside the city limits on I-25, there's some monster hole, how do they report that and get it addressed?
Yeah, we have a service line as well, and I'll get that information out to you guys. But we have a service line, a customer service line, as well as a website link that people can make those requests into.
Okay, I would appreciate that, and we can kind of distribute that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I think the last time I looked, it isn't. If I can find it, it can't be that difficult to find. So it is on their website, fairly easy to find. And I'm not a techie person, so yeah.
Will do.
But yeah, so it is out there.
And do you know what the response time is on that typically?
I'd say some of that depends on the severity of the situation. Definitely impending weather that comes in, also location. For instance, Garden of the Gods area where the construction is being held, the contractor is responsible at this time for filling potholes, and we stay on top of them to get them done. They have to schedule it, especially on I-25, doing the pothole work at night. And so we do have to do a little bit of planning because we close down lanes just for the safety of our guys and the contractors as well. And so depending on the severity of the situation, it's within a week, we'll try to get those addressed. If it's a weather situation that is coming in, then we'll wait until after the weather may have to try to work through it through the weather situation, but we do it as much as we can.
Okay, but generally within a week.
We like
unless
to try to
there's
get
some
those within a week,
extenuating.
especially, I know, let's say about 2-3 weeks ago, we had one on I-25 there near Fillmore, the Garden of the Gods. So it was pretty significant.
Mhm.
And as soon as that started to pop out, we had the contractor in there, and it was about a week's time.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I also know that, many of you may know, but the county also has an app called Citizen Connect. And sometimes it's hard, when people go on there, sometimes it's hard for them to know if that road is state jurisdiction, city jurisdiction, or county jurisdiction, and so forth and so on. So when that happens to us and we find out that the request to fill a pothole or fix something is not actually county jurisdiction, we automatically refer it to the appropriate authority. So I would imagine everybody else is probably doing that as well, but I do know that El Paso County does that.
Yeah, I know Fountain does it as well. Same situation. Can it be expected to know which corner the intersections in the county? And yeah. Oh, Councilmember Donaldson, did you have another comment?
No.
All right. Oh, okay. We'll go to Commissioner Stone and then Mayor Graham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Shane, on this, what did you call it? A skinning?
Yeah, so it'll be similar to what, if you guys recall, about a year ago to 2 years ago, we did it on 24 before the surface treatment project came in, where we had a pretty thin layer of asphalt. Our maintenance team went out and applied that asphalt just to get through essentially the summer and the winter. We're going to do a similar situation on 67 just to try to get through the summer and the winter until we can re-advertise that project again this fall. So we are going to be advertising again. Hopefully the bids will be a little bit different. We're going to be bringing in some more additional funds to tie it up.
So we're looking at 2025 now, is that?
For construction is what we're going to be planning. Correct.
Currently?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but we'll be out there this summer with our maintenance team just to patch it up, if you will.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Shane, I was just wondering if you could give me an update on the intersection of Cave of the Winds Road and Highway 24. We talked about a safety improvement there.
Yeah, I know it's still part of the project that you and I talked about. It was a pedestrian project. It hasn't closed out. It may be in winter shutdown, if I recall correctly. And so the contractor is pulled off of the project until it gets through the winter time. But that will still be addressed as part of that pedestrian project, the construction of that intersection, modification of that intersection.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, on the near-term advertising on our US 24, Falcon to Peyton.
Yep.
Okay, is that going to be in 24 or 25?
Yeah, so 24. So it is under advertisement currently with the contractors. We open up the bids on the 21st of March, and we'll see where the bids come in. But we're planning to have it under construction, assuming we can fund it this summer.
Now, on the resurfacing, is it like a 4-inch asphalt or is it 2-inch asphalt?
Man, I'd have to look at the plans, but typically for a mill and fill, it'll be a reconstruction of about 2.5 to 3 inches.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll mill off 2.5 inches and put back.
So are they going to be doing that during the night or during the day?
At that location, we have a lane closure strategy where it's usually dictated by population and obviously demand, as well as vehicle demand, et cetera. And so it may be during the day at that location.
Because these are questions people have been asking me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right.
Let me find out and maybe I'll get back with you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Whatever they pick will be the most inconvenient, right? See, not that you plan it that way, it just seems to go that way, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
we try to be aware of just the traveling situation for the public and everything else, but also it's challenging to get the work done under.
We're just joking with you, right?
Understood. Yes, ma'am.
Because we got the MAMSIT project going on down at Fountain, and then we've got Fountain project going on at the same end of town, and now they're doing the pedestrian ramps,
Yep.
and we're not complaining it's getting done. It just kind of ironic how it all falls, right?
Construction season, we're getting ready here in the summer.
It is, yeah. All right, they'll get a couple days off here though this week, I think. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Forgive me, but just briefly, so that I have a clear understanding, because I've been told that I don't have a clear understanding, and Lord knows I need to know that. With regards to the 67 project that we're delaying till fall, Would you just briefly tell me what that includes?
Yeah, so from 24 north for about a mile, it's a resurfacing job. And so
To Evergreen Heights, right?
I do not recall the
Okay,
exact
I think
intersections.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's okay.
And then from that point north to, and I would have to look back again at the primary intersection. I believe it's another mile. We are doing a reconstruction of the road, widening with turn lanes as well as drainage improvements along that corridor. So I know
That's
there's a
good.
significant drainage issue with cutting underneath the roadway with the ditches. And so we're addressing that.
And that will include widening to 2 lanes to that intersection that you don't remember.
That's correct. I think it's more of a turn lane. I don't know. I don't think it's two
Okay.
lanes. It's a turn lane, if I remember correctly.
Because I think it
Providing turn lanes.
encompasses the project that the city was going to do, but we're putting that in this full project of the egress and what's the coming on, not egress is coming off.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is that still part of what is going to happen?
Yeah, the turn lanes is to address that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I did understand and they don't. Appreciate it.
Must be campaign season. Okay. Yeah. Did you have a question? I saw your mic on a second ago.
No, I was informed that I should keep my mouth quiet for right now and allow the town and CDOT to continue conversations.
I ain't touching that one with a
Right.
10-foot pole. Okay. All righty. Any other questions for CDOT, either online? I don't see any hands. Do we have any hands online? No? Okay. Thank you, Shane. You're now off the hot seat. All right. Next person on the hot, no, I'm kidding. Commissioner Williams. She may have had to drop off. Okay. So anybody else that attended? So John is stepping up for the stack update. Okay.
Yeah, yes, unless of course Commissioner Elsner grabs the wheel, I shall let him grab it. But for the stack report, Commissioner Williams was in attendance and did represent the region, but she did text us and said she had to drop off here real quick. And Commissioner Elsner, you correct me if you disagree with this statement, but it was a rather pedestrian sort of stack meeting. The main item was the budget overview of what will go to the Transportation Commission. Much of the conversation had to do with statewide maintenance and how much funding is being allocated to take care of the roads in the rural areas. The other item was the winter maintenance update, and the I forget the gentleman's name, who's the new CDOT statewide engineer, maintenance guy, talked about all the stuff. And I learned that March is the snowiest month in Colorado, which I did not know, but that from what they have to clear and the stuff that they provide, that was there. Then there was a rest area update. And then finally, they talked about replacing the stack representative on the Federal Lands Access Program. There are 3 members. One is a FHWA employee, one is from CDOT, and one represents stack. I took my eye off the ball for a minute, and Commissioner Williams volunteered me. So I am your new Federal Lands Access Program representative for the stack. Commissioner Elsner, did I miss anything if you're still on?
No, you did not miss anything, and I thought it was a great choice to put you on the Federal Land Access Committee. We really need people that understand transportation, and maybe he'll understand more of Colorado when he has to look at where some of the roads are to federal lands, and he'll have to get out and look and explore the beautiful state. And I don't know, pedestrian is not the word I would have used, but kind of, I think it fits.
I think we're finding that a lot of the topics that they're bringing to the stack are for the advisory part of stack. There's not a lot to advise on. Is that a fair statement, Commissioner?
Yeah, I think because of some of the contentious things we've had in the past, that right now they're moving towards, well, we'll just tell them what we're going to do in an advisory, and it will advise stack rather than have stack advise us, because if we let stack advise us, we might get some contentious things going on.
And for the
I'm-
record, I tipped up to the line, but I did not cross it. And thank you, Commissioner Elsner, for doing that for me.
Yeah, I crossed it for you. It's something that I think we're going to have to start working on soon, getting it back to where STAC actually is an advisory committee rather than, gee, we're the first ones to know what they're doing.
Unless
Okay.
there's any questions.
Any questions from anybody? Councilmember Donaldson.
Just one. John, you mentioned that they talked about the rest stop areas, I guess, on the highways. Is there any information on that? It seems like for a while, those are just kind of being left to die. Are we trying to, like the one between Pueblo and here?
Yeah, they did touch on the Pueblo one, and they were talking about that one. Shane, it would be a better use of everyone's time for you just to go ahead and answer the question, then me fumble through it, and then you correct me.
Yeah, so as part of the federal redistribution, we received about $10 million associated with the rest area between Colorado Springs and Pueblo.
Wow.
That being said, the current location, it is not rehabable, if you will. We are looking at another location just north of Pueblo, being tied into Exit 108, which is already a planned 10-year project in that area. With an interchange. And so that is the current study, if you will, that we're taking a look at to incorporate a rest area, both between Colorado Springs and Pueblo. And part of that is utilities concerns, obviously the sewer, water, et cetera.
Yeah. Has there been like a philosophical shift on what those rest areas are supposed to do? It used to be, people were proud. We have highways and citizens could drive and see parks and things, and they would kind of space them out into areas where there was nothing else. So you could pull over, use the restroom, get water. Are we going to increase the numbers, keep the numbers the same? Are the numbers going to decrease?
Yeah, no, it is a significant cost in maintenance to keep up these rest areas. I wouldn't say that there's a philosophical change at this point. There have been some decreases in when we are looking at rest areas and maintaining and keeping them open throughout the state. But at least within the region here, the one that's down south, we do want to keep that open, or we do want to open it again, if you will.
Yeah.
And provide essentially parking and facilities as well as.
And not trying to throw you a fastball here, but if I remember that conversation, and I might be mixing up conversations, Pueblo has been very involved in this. And I think this may be more of a Pueblo conversation is they've got, how far do you get outside city limits where you're no longer competing, right? If you get it too close into Pueblo, then you're competing with all of the private sector folks. So it's got to be far enough out, but you got to be close enough in to do the electrification and all that other stuff. So Pueblo is very engaged in all of this, and they're trying to sort of figure out what they actually want and what is palatable to them. Is that a fair statement?
Both Pueblo West, and the county of Pueblo, correct.
What
Can I add
exit is
something?
that? Oh, what exit is that current one at?
Oh, gosh.
Or how many miles from the proposed is it?
It's probably about 10 miles, within 10 miles.
Within 10?
Yeah.
North or
Commissioner-
south? North or south?
Yeah, the current, so from
The proposed one.
from the proposed to the current one, from the proposed to the current, it's about 10 miles north.
North.
Well, the proposed is south of the
Oh,
existing. Yeah,
okay.
that's
All
correct. Yeah,
Okay. So more like down by that Love's truck stop?
that's correct. It's north of Pueblo, correct?
Okay.
Just a few miles outside of the city limits. That's why the utilities, we're looking at Pueblo and Pueblo West utilities.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Elsner?
Yeah, I'd like to add, when I was first on STAC, which was a really long time ago, rest areas were, we have them, we may want to close them all because they cost too much. And I've seen a real shift in CDOT to saying, okay, we need to keep some open that are critical, that people use a lot, and we need to make them really nice places to stop rather than, okay, it's kind of like someone needs to clean the bathroom more than once a month. So I think they're moving in a much better direction, but as Shane said, it's really expensive.
The current rest stop that's not open had a Blackwater. The trailers, motorhomes could empty their sewer systems there. Is that something that will be in the current one or not? Or I wouldn't assume so.
Yeah, I don't know. I know, like you said, the current location, nothing's allowed at
Okay.
at this time.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think away from the stack conversation, this is something that'll get picked up here with the state freight plan, because I think when we did our PPACG freight plan that you adopted, I'm not sure, I can't remember if it was last month or the month before. One of the things we heard was the place for trucks to pull off and either idle or have truck stop electrification and those sorts of things. So from our perspective, not necessarily CDOT, that's a discussion that maybe after the long range plan is finished and we could start looking at what we got out of the freight plan. We might ask the county and the city of Fountain and others to see if you can lure a Buc-ee's right south of town or something. I don't know.
Oh, man, our city manager would be there all day long. So
You know what I mean?
they actually have I have to drive by their stops, their huge billboard they just put up for
I've
Buc-ee's.
never been to a Buc-ee's, so maybe that
I
was
haven't either. I haven't
It
either,
opens
but
Monday.
a recommendation.
It
Apparently
opens
there's a
Monday. Feel
place
free to
to
start
go.
heading north now
Or, yeah,
yeah,
to Johnstown.
so.
yeah, it's
Anyway.
118 miles to Buc-ee's. So, yeah.
We definitely have a little bit of an issue with the trucking community in that we don't have the correct facilities,
Right.
is what we found from our freight study.
Well, and we've talked extensively about needing places for them during these wind events or these snow.
Wind, snow, blizzards.
Blizzard, thank you. I
Yep,
couldn't
and-
think of the word. We really need a place for them besides on their side by the side of the road.
Yep, and
Yeah.
that's what we found. So not only do we not want them there, they don't want to be there from the input that we received. So it's something, again, it's on our radar screen, but we can only handle one sort of thing at a time. So down the road, that might be something that we bring back to you as a region that we need to sort of study and look at. Because blizzards, winds, Sharknadoes, whatever you have,
Right.
we need to find refuge from that.
Sharknadoes, you're on your own. Mayor Pro Tem.
Aye. Thank you, Madam Chair. Don't forget EV charging stations. Because man, we gotta be completely politically correct to put the stuff in there. So that they have a EV charging station at the rest stop. They can sit there and look at the Rocky Mountains and relax.
For the EV charging, as whether or not we have enough of the electrified freight vehicles, which again, I just read something from FHWA where they're naming the electrification, the freight, electrified freight corridors, right? So it is growing by from 4% to 5% or something like that. It is something that we'll see in the future. But again, given the distances of freight trucking and the elevation changes, I'm not sure that Colorado is going to be anything that they choose to electrify anytime soon. That being said, once they pull off, if you can get them to stop idling and plug in and do the electrification for their cabin heaters and stuff like that, there is funding available for that. And it's actually one of those low-hanging fruits where we've done something positive for the environment at the same time, provided a amenity to the trucking community. So we'll see that.
I was talking more about the poor guys in the cars that do not calibrate their distance correctly.
Yeah.
Or they dare to use their heater.
What's that?
Or they dare to use their heater during their drive so their car runs down faster.
And I'm sorry.
I said, or they dare to use their heater or air conditioner while they're traveling so their battery runs down faster than anticipated.
We could put in a coffee shop or something like that too,
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Anything else? All right. All right, everybody, look over your current committee and commission vacancies for your area, please, and maybe we can get some of those filled. I'd love to have a whole rash of appointees come through next meeting. That would be great. And that takes us to the executive report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just 3 items real briefly. Would love to announce who our new regional grant navigator is, but we don't quite have a signed contract yet. It's going to be a contractor position, but we've got an awesome candidate, very close to reeling her in, but don't have both sides haven't signed the contract quite yet, but hopefully can announce it by the end of this week or early next week. But this is our position that's going to help our local jurisdictions go after grant opportunities, especially under the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, IIJA, for infrastructure and related projects. So stay tuned, but I think you'll love her. She's awesome. Great engineering experience, great project delivery experience. So I think she'll be a real asset to the community. So more to come very soon. Second item, just wanted to remind folks that 2 weeks from tomorrow night is when we're going to do the regional assembly of elected officials across the region. It's our first attempt to try to get all the elected officials together of all of our 16 jurisdictions, or, you know, whatever number critical mass we can get together for that evening. So if you're interested in coming, please let your city, town, county manager know, or you can let myself or Cheryl know. We're building an RSVP list as we speak. Hoping to get a final RSVP attendee list by the end of next week on Friday, the 22nd of March, I believe it is. But really looking forward to it. It's a chance for you all to get to know one another, not just members of this board, but other elected officials. Help us maybe get behind a regional set of priorities eventually. We're not going to get into that at the first time we get together in 2 weeks. But then we're also going to bring in special guest speakers on occasion to talk about topics that might be of interest. And thanks to Jared's connections, we were able to line up Dr. Pam Shockley. Jared worked with her when he was at UCCS. So Dr. Shockley is going to talk about trust and leadership and how to build leadership skills and trust within your governing body and within your community. So really looking forward to that. And last thing I'll mention is we swapped up the art in the conference room. You may have noticed Daniel Logan was our first artist last month, but shortly after he put his stuff up, which was awesome, he found out he had a really big show that he was invited to, so he had to take it down. Thank you, Sherry, for lining up Katie Curcio, who's an artist from Manitou Springs, specializes in wildlife and landscape portraits. So yeah, really excited that she's able to display her stuff here for the next couple of months, we hope. But we're gonna next month or so. But we'll keep rotating in artists on a regular basis. So that's all I've got. Her contact info is on the side as well, if anybody's interested in any of her art pieces.
Yeah, beautiful work, and it's in the lobby too.
Yep.
Yeah, so very nice. I walked in and the bright colors are beautiful. So, all right, is that it? Yes, Yolanda?
Andy, for the assembly of all the elected officials, what's it going to look like in here? How are we going to sit?
We are going to set up tables that seat 8, I believe it is. So in squares around the table. We will have food. We're still working on what that's going to look like, probably buffet style. So you can grab, you know, a light meal. We'll serve as dinner, hopefully. And a chance to kind of mingle and get to know your fellow elected officials. But the tables of 8 around our conference room. Dr. Shockley is probably going to work the room a little bit, but for the first half hour or so, just a chance to kind of get to know your fellow elected officials. And then we haven't talked about this, but probably your chairperson and I will get up and say a few words as far as why we decided to do this and pull together all the electeds. And then we'll hand it over to Dr. Shockley, and she'll have about 45 minutes to go through her discussion, and she'll make it interactive with members that are here and try to tease out some of the challenges that you all are facing and how to address them, again, from her specialty, which is building trust. Okay.
I just wondered how we were all going to fit in the room. And when she's speaking, are we sitting? Are we standing? Or
you'll be seated, and she'll just sort of kind of work the room. But first time doing this, so we'll see how this goes. We'll look for feedback as well. So yeah, anything else I'm missing as far as details, Jared?
I don't think so, but I think it is, as you mentioned, this is an opportunity for everyone to get to know each other, learn each other, and maybe not quite the formal setting of a you know, this kind of meeting or a city or council meeting.
Mm-hmm. And 2 things I just remembered, should have mentioned. I think the invite list had about 90-ish elected officials. We also invited the chief administrative officials, the city, town, county managers from all of our jurisdictions as well. So some of our senior staff members may be here, but kind of limited at that point. So elected officials plus the chief managers. So we have about 90 elected officials. If we get a third to a half that number, we'd be super happy. Would love to get, you know, a supermajority, but it's going to be hard to pull off, especially with some of our further out jurisdictions. would love to see folks from Park County, Fairplay, Alma tune in as well or come down for it. But I know that that's, big commitment. So I think we're going to make a Zoom option. We haven't done that quite yet, but we'll get that nailed down with, I know we've been in touch with Tom Eisenman and Janelle and Fairplay and Gary and Alma. So we'll figure out a way to make sure that you guys can participate as well. So yeah, we'll give this a shot and refine it as needed. Our hope is that we could do it a couple of times a year. Kind of aiming at August for the next time to do it, but we'll also eventually find out what's the right cadence for you all to get together.
Councilmember Donaldson?
Yeah, Councilwoman Crow Iverson's been asking me if there's an open bar at this. Is there any truth to that open bar?
You need to turn your mic on. You need to turn your mic on to.
It takes less than
Okay.
a minute to walk across the street to Cerberus, which they're open till 10 or 11, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. The intent is really just for us to get to know each other socially so that when we do have to work together officially, we kind of have those relationships built and we can at least identify each other across the room by look. If you can't come up with the name like I usually can't, then we can at least say I know that person. And so that's just really the intent. Nothing nefarious or anything. It's just really get to know each other on a more casual basis. And I go to CML and I see all these people and I meet them, and then a year later, sometimes they're there and sometimes they're not. So we're trying to kind of get a little bit more community going here. Yeah, consequences of elections. I get it. All right. Any member entity announcements? Yes, Mayor LaKine.
On the note of being social with one another, our regional CML district gathering is coming up in May. Monument will be the host. We have locked up a sponsor and a location for where that will be held. If you've not had the opportunity to eat at your Rita Loco right off 105, that will be our host. We're working out menu options. Well, we were supposed to work it out tomorrow, but given the weather, we may not be able to make it to them. Depends on if CDOT plows 105 or not. But anyway, I think it's May 21st.
We love you, Shane.
But I think it's May 21st.
Okay.
There'll be drink tickets. There is a very full tequila bar. I was looking at you.
He's there.
So yeah, that's what's coming in May up in Monument.
As long as you got gluten-free food, I'm there.
Yeah, CML is getting all the details so they can
All right.
publish it to all of its membership for the district.
It's good to put the date on your calendar though, as soon as you can, though. They seem to fill up miraculously. You open it up every morning and these mysterious things appear in your calendar. All righty. I don't know. It's 12 minutes to 11. Do y'all want to adjourn? Okay. We are adjourned. Okay. Thank you, everybody.